Brent Anderson. This is a post ELA remediation lesson interview with our junior high ELA remediation teacher. Okay, so we had a discussion a while back about preparing for a lesson in your remediation class. Now I want to talk a little bit about after that lesson was given. So I guess I'll just go down the list. Okay, what was your overall goal for the lesson, and do you feel that that goal was met?
Well, my goal was to try to instill a little bit of confidence in my students and their abilities to identify parts of speech. They have a problem identifying nouns, verbs, adjectives, specifically nouns and adjectives. And so I wanted to give them something other than a worksheet. And so we did a little poem on the board. It said, I found it, the lost treasure. I opened the chest and found. And then the point of it was for them to have a sheet of paper and work in groups. And 3 of them had to do adjectives and 1 had to do the noun at the end. And so they would have a description of this thing that they found. And at first they were a little skeptical about their abilities, but we talked about what the parts of speech were, and then they felt ready to tackle it. So the goal was for them to realize that they did know what these things were and to be able to identify adjectives versus nouns. And I think at the end, yes, it was met, and they did that.
Do you feel that it's more effective when they do anything group work related compared to either individual instruction with you or you going over something with the group as a whole?
Yeah, I find that they respond better to group work like that, and they find it, I guess, less intimidating than worksheets, and they respond better to it than.
And they're all like actively taking a role in.
Yes, they all did a great job on it. There's about 11 of the kids in this particular class, and they all participated really well. I was really proud of them because they did a good job.
Well, this being a remediation class, do you think that they're aware that they're on a similar reading level with their peers?
Yes.
So there's probably less intimidation
Yes.
than like a gen ed setting.
Right. Okay. And in a different setting, they may have felt a little differently about the activity, but in our class, it was fun for them and they were able to feel some success and they liked that.
Good, that's good. Okay, I guess you hit on this already, but which parts of the lesson were the most successful and what made them work well for your students?
Again, it was the interaction, and I think the peer-to-peer talk about what an adjective, what a noun was, really maybe made more of an impression than me just standing up and talking about it. So those kids that understood what the parts of speech are were able to kind of support the other ones without it being embarrassing. So
yeah, one thing that I noticed, like as a teacher, and I would never claim to be the world's greatest teacher, but one thing I do know is when you get 1 or more students that understand the concept of something and they're able to coach other students
right
up to their understanding, it seems that they learn that whatever it is better, more efficiently, seems to stick better.
Yeah, and my hope was that by doing something active with it, that they retain it longer than just a worksheet.
Well, I'm not going to say that they will, but
fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Okay, were there any moments when students seemed confused, disengaged, and why?
At the beginning of the lesson, when I first introduced it, they were a bit confused. They didn't understand understand what the poem was on the board, and they didn't know what they were supposed to do. So I had to model exactly what I wanted from them, and I did my own little poem. And once I did that modeling, they caught on, and they did fine after that.
It's very possible that there was a reaction, reactionary response. For instance, I know that sometimes when you have kids that are not strong readers, and let's say they take one of these state tests, they'll see a question and they'll, something as small as the amount of words in the question, and they'll just,
Yes.
Just
Yeah.
immediately, what is that? I don't want to
too
do
hard.
this. That's too,
It's
exactly.
overwhelming, and they don't. Yeah, that's kind of what happened.
Well, it's good that they got through that.
Yeah.
How did you differentiate the lesson to support students of varying levels of proficiency?
I was just able to go from group to group. I had 4 groups working at the same time, and I tried to place different levels in each group so that they had a built-in support with a peer. And then I was also able to go from group to group and kind of scaffold for them as needed to get what they were doing on paper. But overall, it was a pretty easy lesson, and they didn't need much help. But.
So even in this remediation setting, you're still able to separate students based on a specific reading ability, or
Yes. Yeah, they're still leveled, and I still have stronger kids and weaker kids in different areas. So
okay, what strategies were used to check for understanding?
We had a product at the end. They had to give me what they actually found. So they had to write out their adjectives and noun, and then as each person added to it, they first did their noun, and they drew a picture of the noun, and then each person added an adjective after that, and then they were to give me a drawing that showed all of those things.
So each person contributed to each other?
Yes.
So it was kind of like a group exit ticket of sorts?
Exactly. And
That's
so when they presented, they had to present at the end of the class, and their picture had to match their words that they chose. So they made some really creative, fun things.
I bet. Nice. If you could reteach this lesson tomorrow, what is one thing that you would change or do differently?
I would add a verb. I thought that may be too much, but I think that would have made it even better for them and a little more fun. I would have had them do the same thing, and the last person add the verb.
So they did adjectives, nouns, just those parts of the speech? Okay.
So I think they would have had fun.
A verb probably would have made the images a little more entertaining.
Yes, exactly. So I think they would have liked that.
Okay. Did any unexpected challenges arise? How did you adapt in the moment to support student learning?
I really didn't have anything unexpected happen. They all did a really good job.
I would think that anything unexpected would have happened at the beginning.
Yeah, that.
Which you said they caught on eventually, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Were your remediation materials, text, passages, graphic organizers, etc., effective? Would you modify them next time?
The only thing I really had was the little poem on the board, and I think that it was fine.
So did they have anything like on their person, like something?
They only had a piece of paper to draw their drawing and write their words.
So they didn't have like some kind of little cheat sheet or anything to help?
No, I guess I could have given them like a definitions.
Well, it sounds like the lesson. Sounds like the lesson was effective without it.
Yeah, but that's a good idea. That could help.
How did you incorporate vocabulary or reading comprehension strategies specific to ELA? I think that this being a lesson about parts of speech,
Yeah,
that seems like a
that-
pretty straightforward.
Yeah, we didn't really do anything with vocabulary or reading comprehension.
One thing I did want to ask, so the poem that they were given, that they had to identify parts of speech, were they able to successfully read and understand was the poem grade level or their reading level?
The poem actually was very simple and straightforward. It just says, I found it, the lost treasure, I opened the chest and found.
So there was no confidence issues
No,
with this
they
particular
were all
poem.
able to read that very easily.
Okay.
And that was okay.
Do you think that you would see the same success if you maybe increased the reading level of a poem or the length, even if you had to maybe read it to them? Like, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you give them a poem that's on their reading level. They're able to successfully read it, feel confident in the words, and correctly enunciate everything. But let's say that you gave them a poem that was maybe a little outside of their realm.
That would have taken a lot more work from me to have them understand the poem.
So do you think that they would be able to understand by hearing that, oh, that's an adjective, oh, that's a noun?
Well, no, that's the
So
that's the whole point.
Right.
They really struggle, and I have been working really hard with them on what adjectives and nouns are. And when I give them sentences that maybe they can even read, but they are not comprehending, they struggle very much with identifying nouns and adjectives, and verbs. It's a struggle.
I don't think that this is unique. When I was working at a previous school, I had a friend of mine who taught 9th and 10th grade ELA, Gen Ed classes.
Mm-hmm.
He gave parts of speech quizzes every Friday, every week. And he never, not one time for the entire year, had an entire class pass the quiz.
Oh my goodness.
And like I said, these are, quote, Gen Ed students.
Mm-hmm.
Parts of speech, adjective, noun, verb. A C-spot run.
Yeah.
What's the verb? What's the noun?
Yeah.
You would think, and I don't know. So again, I know this has been some years ago, but even kids are struggling with parts of speech. In fact, what do you think the reasoning might, or do you have a theory?
I'm really not sure, because we start teaching this in kindergarten. Like, this is not something new that we just learned this year. So I really don't understand why it's so hard to understand the parts of speech. And I don't know. I wish I did.
Yeah, that would be beneficial if someone could solve that.
Yeah.
Crack that code. Okay, what evidence did you gather during the lesson to guide your next steps in instruction?
Well, as I was walking around, I was really able to kind of overhear a lot of conversations that pertain to adjectives and nouns, surprisingly. And I was able to see who the helpers were and who the people that were really struggling.
Okay.
And so that is good knowledge for going forward.
So it was basic teacher observation.
Yes.
That's good. Were there any students who didn't meet the objective? What's your plan to support them moving forward?
Everybody met the objective on this lesson, because if they weren't able to on their own, they got provided support to be able to do it. But going forward, I mean, we're just going to continue working on trying to do more fun activities like this and get the kids more actively involved, and maybe that will kind of
Just repetition.
trigger some learning.
Repetition.
Yeah.
Just pound it into them.
Pound it. But fun.
Okay, lastly, how did the students respond to the pacing and structure of the lesson? Would timing adjustments improve learning?
They responded really well. They were a little hesitant at first. Like I said, they weren't exactly sure what we were doing at first, and they thought it was going to be kind of annoying, and they were skeptical. But once I explained to it, modeled it, and kind of gave them an overview of it, they became excited after that because of the picture drawing, I think. And they were able to have some fun with it. I think it overall went pretty well. The timing went a little longer, honestly, than I thought it would. But that was because they were actually participating and trying to do a good job. So I was really impressed with the lesson. It went a lot better than I thought it would.
Nice.
So,
It's always fun when
yeah.
when they become engaged, and
yeah. You never know, especially in junior high, if they're going to enjoy something or think it's really stupid.
you can guess.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this concludes my 45 minutes plus of playing principal.